catecholaminé is going to act on the beta 1 receptor. So it is going to convert ATP into cyclic AMP by using adenylated cyclase enzyme. So then which acts through the like phosphorylase enzyme, so which leads to movement of calcium through the L type of calcium channels. So there will be movement of calcium from the sarcoplasmic reticulum into the cytosol. This calcium bound to troponin C and troponin I, that leads to like cause the action in between myosin and that of the actin binding, that leads to contractility. So basically we need cyclic AMP. When there is a problem with adenylate cyclase in decrease in sepsis, so there will be no conversion of ATP to cyclic AMP. Again, phosphodiesterase inhibitor, we have milrinone, okay, Embrinon, enoximon, these are the phosphodiesterase 3 inhibitor. What they are going to do is they are going to inhibit this phosphodiesterase enzyme. Whenever there is no like activity of this phosphodiesterase, so there is no conversion of cyclic AMP to AMP. Whenever there is a abundant availability of the cyclic AMP, which triggers the movement of calcium, which leads to increase in contractility. That is how phosphodiesterase inhibitors are going to act, that is particularly milrinone. Okay, so we have levosimendan, that is a calcium channel sensitizer. So it is not going to increase the calcium in the body, but it is not a calcium supplementation. So it increases the sensitivity of the troponin to the available calcium. So there will be more and more binding of actin and myosin, so that leads to increase in contractility. So these are the three important mechanisms we need to understand before we move further. Okay, so whenever there is any problem in and around this receptor mechanism, particularly this beta receptor activity, decrease in number, internalization, so decrease in adenylate cyclase, that leads to sepsis induced cardiomyopathy with a poor contractility. So this is the current proven theory. Okay, so how we can detect? So echocardiography is the simplest and accepted method. So low means left ventricular ejection fraction, which is the key variable for diagnosing. Okay, sepsis induced cardiomyopathy should be like diagnosed with a low left ventricular ejection fraction, but there might be normal or increase in cardiac output. Okay, so left ventricular ejection fraction also depends upon the left ventricular afterload and thus on the level of systolic blood pressure. See, basically here in sepsis induced cardiomyopathy, decrease in EF is not a problem with decrease in contractility. Our understanding, ejection fraction tells about the cardiac contractility, okay, cardiac systolic function, but ejection fraction decrease in sepsis is a relative phenomenon because it manifests because of the severe peripheral vasodilation. It may not be purely because of the decrease in contractility. Okay, so this allows assessing the degree of sepsis induced diastolic impairment. So along with the systolic dysfunction, we can get an idea by using echocardiography of the diastolic impairment by looking into E by A ratio, E by E prime and all. Okay, so the RV function can be measured by looking into the RV and that of the LV end diastolic area. We know that, so RV to LV ratio is almost equivalent to less than 1. So RV is triangular, little bit less in the caliber as compared to that of the LV. So by using echocardiography, we can get an idea about the ejection fraction, we can get an idea about the diastolic impairment and that of the right side of the heart. But the problem is echocardiography is operator dependent. Okay, it is not objective, it is subjective, so needs some training. So although we can repeat the echocardiography, but it is not a continuous monitoring. Okay, so can we use some sort of advanced hemodynamic monitoring to get an idea about sepsis induced cardiomyopathy? So by putting them on PICO or volume mu, okay, that is EV1000, we can get an idea on a real-time monitoring on cardiac output, global end diastolic volume, that tells about the cardiac preload, that tells about the left ventricular end diastolic volume, means that tells about how much is the volume present at the end of diastole, that is the preload. So also we get some idea about the extravascular lung water index, which tells about the pulmonary edema. Okay, so normally global end diastolic volume will be around 550 to 800, extravascular lung water index is going to be around